So tier 3, we start with 12. That's Evan Ingram, Jake Ferguson at 11, David Njoku at 10, George Kittle 9, Travis Kelce 8, TJ Hockenson 7. That is our tier 3. Now, I know you have a problem with this because you have TJ Hockenson at 3. I have him at 7, and that's where he's at. The community says 7. Jacob says 7. I say 7. I'm sure Dave would probably put him at 2.
They would put him at 1.
Dave would put him at 1. I will be completely transparent here. I made these rankings based off of how old I thought people were. And I'll be honest with you, I thought TJ Hockenson was like 28, 29 years old. He is 26. That alone in Dynasty is going to tell me he is at least a top 5, 4 probably even. If I could adjust my rankings, I'd probably have him at 4 right now. And I would honestly bump Mark Andrews down to 5.
Wow. So yeah, I'm the only person on this earth apparently that appropriately ranked TJ Hockenson at 3 where he should be. If I'm drafting today, I want a stud tight end. He's proven ever since he's been to Minnesota, he is that guy. He should have been that guy in Detroit, but they decided to go with Laporta instead, which is totally fine. I get it. I understand why. He's never eclipsed 1,000 yards in his entire season or career. He's never eclipsed 100. He has 100 targets back-to-back years with the Minnesota years. He's just so solid. He's just a dog. He goes in there and plays football. He crushes it. He doesn't really have off weeks, especially in the Minnesota years. I'd like to see it continue. I don't see why the offense would continue. People are like, well, he's losing his quarterback. He's losing Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins this, Kirk Cousins that. And this is going to tie in with Kyle Pitts as well. Kirk Cousins doesn't target the tight end. He just doesn't. He's done it with TJ Hockenson. He's done it with the new coaching staff. It's actually amazing the amount of targets Hawkinson's received from Kirk Cousins, considering the targets he's had with his other tight ends. So let me rattle this off. Hockenson averaged 8.5 targets per game with Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins' tight end before that was Kyle Rudolph. He averaged 3.8 targets per game in 43 games played. 3.8 targets per game to his tight end. Kirk Cousins does not, and before that, it was even worse. Kirk Cousins does not target the tight end. Maybe it was the offensive coordinator. Maybe because they did get rid of him. They got new coaching staff in Minnesota. Dave would probably tell you more about that. 43 games played with Kirk Cousins for Mason Rudolph. He had 167 targets. Hockenson played 18 games with Kirk Cousins, had 154 targets. Almost caught him in like way less half the time. Their receptions are pretty much similar. Their yardage are similar. The touchdowns are pretty much similar. Kirk Cousins doesn't target the tight end unless his offensive coordinator tells him to. Or maybe Kyle Rudolph wasn't good enough. I don't know. People seem to love him over in Minnesota, and he was a good tight end. That's not pretending Kyle Rudolph was a bum. This was never targeted by Kirk Cousins. Now, does that correlate into the new quarterback, whoever takes over from Minnesota? Are they still going to incorporate TJ Hockenson highly? Of course they are. They went out and got him. He didn't just fall in their lap. He didn't just like, oh yeah, I'll just be here. No, they went out and they targeted him. They wanted him. They paid him. They're going to utilize him. In my opinion, having him outside of the top 3 is a huge mistake, massive mistake by the whole entire community. Him and Justin Jefferson are going to run this offense for a very long time. Doesn't matter who the quarterback is going to be. Hopefully it's a good quarterback. I hope it's not JJ McCarthy. I hope it's someone that's actually competent and can actually throw the ball, so I'm not totally wrong. But I do think TJ Hockenson is going to be heavily involved in this offense going forward. And you're right. He's young, 26 years old. I'm not going to allow one injury that happened at the end of the season to define the rest of his career. We've seen Travis Kelce and Antonio Gates and Jason Witten and all these guys, all these studs, Hall of Famers play until 33, 34 years old. Why can't TJ Hockenson?
Mm-hmm.
Why can't he?
No, I agree.
So he's got many, many more years.
Yeah, I just adjusting him to 4 here on the back end. That does bump him up to tied for 5th. I'd probably put him at 5, which actually puts him to tier 2. I did not continue to mess with the sheet because I knew that was going to screw us up in the next section when we start talking about tier 2. But yeah, at the end of the day, thinking about it after we started our recording, after looking at the stats and going, oh, he's actually 26. That bumps him up for me 3 spots even. That would put him at 5 overall. So I do definitely agree. I think him and Jefferson are going to end up running that. Plus, you got to add Addison to that mixture as well. That's just even better for the Vikings offense. Whoever that rookie quarterback comes in to be is going to be set up pretty well.